My name is Donna Miller. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Purse Power. Purse Power is working to help women use their massive purchasing power to drive positive change. We believe that if women, who make 80% of all purchasing decisions, would choose to buy from the companies that actively promote women, and we would do that in mass, and if we could create a funding stream for battered women's shelters in the process, that we would shatter glass ceilings and change lives. So that's what Purse Power is trying to do. We do tape the program, as you know, and we put them up. I put them up pretty much the day of the recording. We do post our upcoming event or guest every Monday morning, and you can register from our website at pursepower.com. And we've got a library of about 70 programs now with some fantastic national speakers, and I hope you go in there and take a look at it. Okay, so Bryce James, welcome, Bryce. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. It's going to be great. Okay, he is the Chief Revenue Officer at AUDiFYZ, an online platform that allows users to record and publish their own audiobooks. AUDiFYZ is disrupting the publishing industry by giving authors the power and the freedom to create at their own pace and convenience in a way that's much more cost-effective than traditional methods of creating audiobooks. Bryce also serves as the Chief Revenue Officer for AUDiFYZ's sister company, Larynx. And Larynx, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right. You may have to give the correct pronunciation.
It's about as easy to say as it is to spell.
Okay. Gives anyone the ability to preserve their voice in the form of a neural voice, like Siri or Alexa. And I want to learn more about that. I think that's fascinating. He's a graduate of the University of Vermont, and he resides in Scottsdale, Arizona. I was just down in Arizona with his rescue dog, Elliot. Right?
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
My little buddy on the couch.
Little buddy on the couch. Okay, there we go. Letting some more folks in. All right. So why don't we go ahead and start by learning a little bit more about you? Give us your background. Okay, just kind of bring us up to speed on your life and career.
Yeah, sure. Well, going back all the way, I grew up on a dairy farm in Vermont, and I miss Vermont very much. It's always going to be home for me. But growing up on a farm really gave me a passion and appreciation for small business and for business owners and the struggles that they go through. Mm-hmm. After graduating college, I got into sales and eventually got into marketing and advertising, which was my career for the better part of the last decade. Working with some of the largest, most well-recognized brands in America. And it was fantastic. It was just it was a wonderful period of my life. Learned a lot and was very successful along the way. And then, like a lot of us, the pandemic hit, and everything just turned upside down overnight. At the time, I was working for Yelp, and as you can imagine, April 1st, everything gets shut down, and there just wasn't a lot of business going on. So myself, because I was in a position, having, again, done well for myself and also been fiscally conservative over the years, I took the opportunity to take some time away and explore some more entrepreneurial pursuits. And that in turn led me to meeting the team at AUDiFYZ as I was looking for a startup to link on with. And after meeting the guys and seeing the product, I fell in love. And when they made me the offer, I was happy to come on board.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. I didn't know about the background with Yelp. That's very interesting. Okay, so talk to us about what an audiobook is and how you prepare to make one.
Yeah, so an audiobook, pretty straightforward. It's an audio recording or a narrated recording of a book, either in its full, normally unabridged format, or in some cases, people will actually make special formats available for an audiobook that might be slightly different than their paperback or their written book.
Okay. Can you make an audiobook without having a written book, or you have to have one to make an audiobook?
You certainly can. It's beneficial to do both, really. You're very limited as to the number of platforms that you can actually publish an audiobook on if you don't have a in-print version. And the reason why is a lot of these marketplaces are using the tag number, ISDN number. So as that is a requirement in most places, I certainly recommend doing both. If nothing else, it'll give you an additional revenue stream.
Okay. So it sounds like you have to have an ISDN number to even begin the process.
On most platforms, yeah.
Okay. And a lot of our folks online are authors, but how do you get one of those?
That process, I apologize, I'm not the expert on. I've never filed for one myself. I just know that's something you got to have.
A requirement. Okay, so when we get to Q&A, we'll get some people to put the answers in the chat. Maybe that would be a good place.
Yes, that would be
okay. All right. So why would an author want to do an audiobook, and what are the benefits of creating one?
I mean, there's so many reasons, and likewise a ton of benefits. The audiobook space has been growing greatly in the past few years and will continue to do so. So if nothing else, it's given you a wider audience to appeal to than you would get if you were simply just putting out a print book by itself. You get a wider audience, you get additional revenue streams. You don't have to worry about, from a publisher side, you don't have to worry about the stock of your book or shipping or anything like that. It's instantly available. Plus it gets you in the digital space. I mean, if you've ever visited a website like Audible, it is so much easier to find titles that you're looking for and to preview titles and sample them. And it's just such a great way of connecting with your audience that people didn't have just a couple of years ago.
Sure. Well, and it seems like a lot of things are moving towards voice. I'm hearing about that. And I know you're going to be talking about the neural voice later, but do you have any idea what the percentage is of people that look at hard copy books versus electronic books? I have no idea.
No, I mean, I don't know that off the top of my head. I know that audiobooks in general continue to it's just explosive growth in the space. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Very good. So tell us a little bit about how the process works. So how do you create, publish, and promote an audiobook?
Yeah. So typically, as I said, most authors would start out by creating their print book. Current trends in the market really see now that most people are trying to time it so that the release is more or less the same for the print and for the audio. Again, it's just expanding the audience, giving people more options, and it just makes it available to people on whatever platform they're used to using. I'm sorry, I lost my place.
Yeah. So creating, publishing, and promoting an audiobook. Just take us through those three components.
So once you create your print book, then the traditional way that people have been going about making audiobooks is, at least in my opinion, it's very inconvenient and it's also very expensive, and it no longer needs to be. You're looking at having to find a narrator if you're not narrating the book yourself. Typically, those narrators are going to have to find a recording studio if they don't have their own recording equipment. Then you bring in a producer who's going to help them with the back-end production. You're dealing with a publisher, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, the amount of coordination, the amount of people involved to begin with makes the process, just that, very involved. But once you have that all set up, you can then go about, as I said, either doing the recording yourself or with a narrator. There's going to be some, production along the way. You, of course, want to make sure that you have high quality, that you don't have a noisy background. You want to make sure that you have decent equipment so that the sound is okay. And once all is said and done and you get that book published, there's a variety of different ways you can do it, either through self-publishing or you can link up with a publishing company. And, key after that is going to be your marketing.
Okay. It seems like an awful lot of it. A lot of our audience is coaches and consultants, and an awful lot of people are self-publishing today, it seems to me.
Yeah, it's a really great option for people. It's so much easier now with all of these great websites and services that you can find online.
Mhm.
It's really been a game changer for a lot of these self-published authors.
Right. Just like everything else, it's kind of democratizing access
Yeah,
to all kinds of
yeah,
things.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so what are the most listened to audiobook topics right now?
Well, I mean, biographies, autobiographies, that sort of thing. Those are, always going to be making bestseller lists. Mystery, of course, as well. I mean, I don't know about your listeners. I mean, myself, driving from Vermont to Arizona recently, I had a great bonding experience with my mother, where we discovered that we both love audiobooks, and that got us through the 40-hour drive like nothing. So, Paula Hawkins and Gillian Flynn, those are a couple of my favorites. As I said, mystery is going to be huge. And then also adventure, fantasy, that sort of things.
Okay. It's interesting. A part of what I would love to understand is any trends you see. One of the things I ask people is what do you see things going? I can't ask my question. With the pandemic, lots of things have changed. Any thoughts about what the up and coming topic areas are? Any idea?
Neural voice, as we mentioned before, neural voice is a very interesting, kind of not quite there thing in the space of audiobooks. So for people that aren't familiar, neural voice is think like a Siri or Alexa. It's a voice that has been created using artificial intelligence and machine learning. And in the case of a neural voice, that basically is just saying it's a catch-all term for those Siri's, Alexas, etc. But what our sister company, for example, Larynx, what they're doing is you can actually create your own neural voice. So if you sit down and you record into an artificial intelligence that's built to create a neural voice, usually about 3,000 sentences roughly, we feel to get a solid, emotionally intelligent voice out of it. But after reading about 3,000 sentences into our artificial intelligence, it'll actually recreate and preserve your voice, or anyone's for that matter. So cool. And, among the many, many applications, of course, we're talking about audiobooks, would be that an author in theory could then go about creating their neural voice. And once that's created, you could self-narrate all of your books without actually having to sit there and do the narration anymore, which is again, game changer. It's a time saver. It's huge.
Well, and I know you're using that neural voice for many, many things, applications like customer service and all kinds of things, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, the other big one that we're pushing into right now is we're trying to pitch it as a medication adherence tool. So the idea being that if somebody's getting medication reminders, and those reminders are coming from the voice of a loved one, or say the voice of their healthcare provider they've been with for 10 to 20 years, they're going to be much more likely to stay on that schedule and adhere to the medication they're supposed to be taking. So literally, it can be a life-saving technology, but there are hundreds of applications.
That's fascinating. That's wonderful. All right. So who are the most active listeners to audiobooks? Who's the audience?
I mean, it crossed the spectrum, and the demographics have shifted slightly in the last couple of years in particular. In the early days of audiobooks, it really was more men, middle-aged men, really, than anything. I think anecdotally speaking, I think a lot of it was, people listening to books like to and from work, more geared towards learning than necessarily entertainment, which we all know has now shifted. Currently, we're seeing there is definitely a slight, there's a slight lean to, there's a little over half of the audience is female at this point. You're still seeing like the 30 to 39 segment is really, really big. But overall, overall in the market, I mean, between the ages of say like 25 to 60, 65, you're looking at almost 20% of the country now are regular audiobook consumers. And of those people, on average, those people are consuming 6 titles a year. So to see both the percentage of users and also the number of titles going up because of the ease of, how you can listen to it anywhere, while doing other things, it's just a really exciting market to be in, and it's growing really fast.
Oh, that's amazing. That's wonderful. Okay, so tell me how long an audiobook should be. What length is too long or too short?
I mean, I wouldn't really say there's anything. I really wouldn't say there's anything as too long or too short. I mean, most audiobooks are going to be right around 6 hours, but there's exceptions to every rule. You have motivational speakers and real estate agents and entrepreneurs who want to crank out their musings on life in a short 90-minute book, put it out there for $5 and they're happy. There's also, it's also interesting. I mean, myself, I'll typically listen to my audiobooks at 1 1/4 speed because it gives you that option. So likewise, the length of the book for me may not be the length of the book for you.
I'll be darned. So you can listen to it faster. Okay. I'll be darned. Okay. I can have to my kids. I'm going to tell my kids about that on the school books.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it's just a matter of your retention, but and then you've got authors like Stephen King, like, as I said, like driving from Vermont to Arizona, I knew it was 40 hours. So I loaded up a Stephen King book. I believe it was like 22 hours. And then I was like, okay, well, this Paula Hawkins book is 8 hours and this Gillian Flynn book is 10 hours. And the next thing you know, we're in Arizona.
That's great. The time would go a lot faster, I'm sure. The drive. Okay,
Yep.
Good. Okay, so we got a few more people coming in. All right, let's see here. So any other important trends you see in audiobooks besides the neural voice?
I mean, there's the self-publishing part. I mean, can I?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Can I give us a little shameless plug?
Sure.
So another, I don't know if it's necessarily a trend, but something that is really, really cool that I'm so excited to announce is our company AUDiFYZ has basically created a platform where people can self-record their own audiobooks and publish. You can group your chapters, you can edit, make changes to your document, but you can record right from your own device. Of course, we recommend you want to have some decent equipment. So, check your recording. If it's not up to par, you might want to buy a new microphone, something like that. But traditionally speaking, as I mentioned before, when you're talking about having to get involved with possibly a narrator and then a producer and dealing with the studio, et cetera, it's a huge pain. It's time consuming and it's not for everybody. A lot of people would just prefer to be able to simply sit, read into the recorder and connect with their audience. And that's what we allow people to do. Like you said before, it's kind of like democratizing the system.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, and the other idea is if you are a publisher of a lot of books, like Case is, I mean, if you could put those 3,000 words down and then have the machine record your books.
Yeah.
I mean, holy smokes.
Yeah. We're still a little bit away from that, primarily just because most platforms currently aren't allowing neural voices to be used. But definitely see that changing in the near future as the voices themselves get better.
Okay, interesting. And another question, we talked a little bit about promoting books, but I want to learn more about how you do promote an audiobook if you've got one. So, I mean, certainly there's listing sites and things like that, but is there a very effective way to promote audiobooks? What kind of channels are there?
I mean, there are all kinds of different partners that are out there. Trying to think, for example, Findaway Voices was a good one that people would partner up with to do both publishing and marketing. They actually were recently bought out by Spotify, so I'm not super familiar with what their structure is now, if they're still operating independently or not. Spotify actually, that also brings to mind, that's another big shift that's coming in the market, is that Spotify has officially announced that they are making a huge play in the audiobook market. They haven't really gotten into too specific as to what they're doing, but they have been buying up companies like Findaway Voice, where that was focused on audiobook publishing. So it'll be interesting to see what Spotify in particular does in the coming months to compete with, the Audibles, et cetera, of the world.
Okay, so Elena is asking, how much does what's the average cost to create an audiobook?
Well, average cost by traditional methods, to begin with, narrators, for example, if you're using a union narrator, which if you're going to use a narrator, use a union narrator. But their rates start at $200 an hour. All in, you're probably looking at no less than, I'd say, $2,500. It's very common for it to be even more than that, depending on the length of the book, et cetera. Through AUDiFYZ, if you're willing and wanting to self-narrate your book, through AUDiFYZ, our most expensive option is $599. And that includes storing the book for up to 3 years so that you can go back and make changes if ever need be.
Okay, all right, very good. So let's see here. So Case is asking, what technically does your software do in recording? For example, does it automatically do background noise reduction, et cetera? I know you got editors too. You should talk about that.
Yeah, so it does. It's artificially intelligent. Artificially intelligent based. It's AI based.
Okay.
So it does a fair amount of background scrubbing to begin with. It also has built-in tools while you're recording, so you can check to see if you have any clicks or pops, or if you have dead air that you want to delete proactively, you can. We have a team of engineers which then do a manual check, not only along the way but also afterwards, just to make sure everything's up to par. And another cool thing about our AI is that it will also check the words from your manuscript against what's being said. Kind of like a reverse translation type of software. But what it's doing is it's also making sure that the narration is matching up with the book itself.
Okay, so it's tied together as you're doing your recording. Okay. The other thing I found interesting about your product is if people do that and they want to go back and they like it to change a section or something like that. I guess my mom was an author and she used to update things. It seems like it'd be easier. You're updating just the sections that have changed.
Yeah. I'm currently working with, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Maria Liberati.
I'm not, but some people maybe.
So Maria Liberati, if any of you are familiar, fantastic chef and cookbook author. She has a new book that's not a departure for her, but just a little bit different, where it's more of like a diary style than she's done in the past. And it's my honor to be working with her on her new book that's coming out using our platform. And that's exactly what she said, is she loved the fact that, if she finds afterwards there's something that, she wants to say differently, or, she wants to change a recipe ingredient, what have you, she can come back at any time and go right to that one section and easily make that change in seconds, as opposed to having to re-record an entire chapter or, half the book. Would
then that be updated in all of your distribution locations? So
it would have to be, it would have to be pushed back out.
Okay.
So it's not that seamless, but the fact that option is available it's just such a huge convenience.
Makes sense. Okay. So Tiffany is asking, is a neural voice more annoying than a regular voice?
Ideally, we're obviously, and when I say we, I mean, technology in general, we're not at a point where neural voice is going to be 100% indistinguishable from a human voice, but it's pretty dang close. You're probably gonna start to see, well, you're definitely gonna start to see more and more neural voices being employed in every aspect of life, really. You're probably going to start to see differences between companies in terms of their quality of the voices, the types of voices that they're offering.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be varied in the use of them. I mean, one kind of dream scenario that we have right now that we're working on with Larynx is, we're trying to get in with some talent agencies, and we would love to basically establish a library of celebrity voices.
Oh gosh.
For endorsement, et cetera. So the idea, likewise, kind of like with the book, is that celebrity sits down, they put in their week of work to get the neural voice made. Once the neural voice is made, audio commercials, all somebody has to do is go on the site and sign up for a 30-second spot using your name. And you check off on the content of the spot. Don't have to go in the studio, don't have to record, it's taken care of for you.
Holy smokes. Well, there's some article out about AI, and I guess they were concerned about whether or not it's sentient now, right? And it's starting to add in emotion and all of those things. I was thinking about if a voice is reading it, how do you get the correct intonation and with the voice?
And a big part of that's going to be on the back end with the engineering, the artificial intelligence, and how it's coded. We pride ourselves in we pride ourselves with our particular system as being emotionally intelligent. There are many proprietary functions and features built into our software that makes it emotionally intelligent. Frankly, if you wanted details, you'd have to talk to somebody much more smart than me, more intelligent than I. But yeah, it's getting better all the time, and pretty soon, I would say you could very easily be talking to a computer over the phone, and you won't know it.
Never done. Wow. Oh my gosh. We have to protect ourselves from that one. That's
well, like you said, like the whole sentient piece, basically a engineer from Google who is claiming that Google has a sentient AI, which is in debate, but he said that he talked to their AI machine, and he asked it what it thought of the idea of being switched off. And it said that in its mind, it equated it to dying. So
that was wild. Yeah.
It's an interesting and scary world we live in.
Oh, absolutely. All right, let's see here. Lauren is saying, do you sell to all vendors that sell audiobooks, like Findaway distributes to lots of stores?
Yeah, so we'll work with authors to get them published, wherever they want, as long as the audio format is acceptable. So ACX, Audible, Apple, et cetera. I mean, all the players wherever you need to be.
Okay. Case is asking for fiction books. Could the AI do different voices inside one book? What a great idea, Case.
I mean, absolutely. We're still working on getting one that is indistinguishable. I mean, there's right now, I would say our product is probably about 90% accurate. So you could, for example, use a neural voice to narrate your book, but you're probably going to have to go back through, listen to it, and then re-record some sections yourself. But yeah, you certainly can. The multiple voice, as I said, same thing. It's just the technology, it's getting there. Short answer is just not yet.
Not there yet, but gosh, it's moving fast, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's moving very fast. Okay, guys, why don't you go ahead and take off your, put your cameras back up, turn your mics back on. Let's go ahead and get together and see if you guys have any other questions or insights that you want to share. Okay. Go ahead and put everybody on the screen here. All right. So who else has questions they want to ask or insights they want to provide?
I could jump in because so I have self-published audiobooks, and I'm a DIYer, so I've only ever spent $100, which is on the formatting for Audible. Which was going to be my next question, is if the technology actually can do the formatting for Audible, because when I tried to submit to Audible myself, it was rejected, so I ended up hiring somebody. So that's the only part of it that I still pay for.
Yeah, we make sure. Not with all of our packages. I mean, we have, like a basic package, for example, like for $199, where, on the back end, we don't really do much other than, we gave you the ability to record and the AI system to help you clean it up. But when I say our high-end package, which again is like only $599, yeah, we have our engineers in place, ready to assist with anything like that you might need help with.
And it seemed, I think when I was talking with you guys, it seemed like there's some formatting that you do to make sure that it will match these other platforms, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of built into the structure, I think. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to have the right, the right file format. You've got to have, different platforms have different requirements, but yeah, we make sure that everything is where it needs to be, functioning like it needs to.
To be posted. Okay. All right. What else? Other thoughts, questions?
I have one.
Yeah.
How many, or do you have a capacity to have a narrator in Spanish or other languages or different dialects in Spanish?
Yeah, I mean, you can record. You can record in whatever language you like. If you want to hire a narrator, I mean, we can help with finding a narrator if you don't already have access to one. We don't have narrators on staff, but we do have contacts to make them available. So the recording is just a matter of who's doing the recording. As far as language support, we do actually have, on the neural voice side, I was actually quite impressed. We've now built out voices in English, in Milem, in Arabic, Spanish, and I might be forgetting one.
Okay. So could the neural voice thing, could they record the 3,000 words in Spanish, for example, and have the book read in Spanish? I mean,
I don't see why not. We haven't had someone do it yet, but I mean, it shouldn't work any differently.
Okay. Good question, Elena. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Other thoughts? Okay. Questions?
Well, I can keep asking.
Okay.
Just on, so the part that's really difficult, I find, is the editing. And you'd mentioned a bit about that you can, part of the technology is to listen for like gaps and things like that. Mm-hmm. How have you had feedback on that from the authors? How do people feel about that? Do they still go back and get additional editing, or does it work?
I mean, I haven't heard any complaints, and I certainly haven't heard anything about any, common issues. It's like any other online platform in that it's not infallible. But typically the issues that I've seen people encounter is more along the lines of, having trouble with, for some reason, like certain, I don't know if it's certain computers or if it's certain operating systems. Again, the specifics really go beyond me. I work with a phenomenal team of people. But for example, sometimes there could be like formatting issues with converting the PDF to our platform, in which case, well, we stick our engineering team on it, and it might take them a day or two, but they fix it, and then, we move forward with the project. So things do come up, but no, audio hasn't been one that really has come up. It's not something I've heard much about.
Well, so if I remember correctly, you upload a book and it paginates it or something, and it locks it out, and then you record
Yep,
right?
and you can further divvy up your chapters into, multiple paragraphs, or however you want to structure it to make it easier for you. I find for me, in the times that I've used it, I think it's easiest for me to do the recording on more or less a paragraph basis, because the way that the software is set up, it puts that paragraph right in front of your face, and then you can just easily read it and just simply you click the next button and it just pops up the next paragraph, rather than having a big long page in front of you, or a chapter for that matter. And again, it also makes it easier. It makes it easier when you go back, should you need to change anything, to then be able to re-record a paragraph or a couple sentences as opposed to an entire page or chapter.
Yeah, yeah. It does seem like it really help. I was doing some training and I was recording the training and I was trying to do it on Zoom with a PowerPoint, and it was horrible because I said, nope, scrap it. Nope, scrap it. If I made one mistake. So I can see where paginating it out and you can fix just the other area.
Yeah, I'm sure somebody learned that one the hard way.
I sure did. Okay. Any other thoughts, guys?
No.
Okay.
Well,
one more quick comment. I was
just gonna say, Case, if you like, but everyone, I will make sure to get my contact info to Donna, and she can share it with all of you folks. So if anything comes up, feel free to reach out anytime. But I'm sorry, Case, what were you gonna say?
No, I just want to quickly comment on when you'd asked, you're talking about reading the book verbatim, and I just wanted to say, like, for authors, there's a lot of people who, for their audiobook, if it's nonfiction, they don't read it verbatim. They actually make it more personable, and they ad lib and so on, and then that actually increases the value of the audiobook.
Oh, absolutely,
It prompts people to buy the book and the audiobook, because the audiobook is different, right? So I just wanted to throw that out there for people who are thinking about it, that you might actually, if it's nonfiction, your audiobook, you might want to just you read most of it, but make it something different, make it a different type of product.
Well, absolutely, and that's the thing, especially when it comes to people who are self-narrating. I mean, you have a strong audience following, and they want to hear you. They want to engage with their favorite author. So that what's the word I'm looking for? That authenticity is huge. And I wouldn't want you or anybody else to worry when I say that our AI is meant to pick up on variations. It's not like red flagging it. It's not shutting down your project. It's not telling you have to go back and fix this. It's more just it's alerting our team to take a look and make the author aware if they weren't, so that if you need to make a correction, you can. But by all means, if it's just improvisation in the moment and you want to leave it, go for it.
Well, that's a really interesting point. Could you upload an outline instead and then talk to the outline?
I think you should, but I don't want to get caught with my hand in the cookie jar. I'm not entirely certain.
Sure. Okay. All right. One last opening for comments, and then I'll go ahead and ask my last 3 questions. Anything else? Okay, well, I wanted to ask you, at the end of the day, what do you want us to have learned from you in our conversation today?
Yep, more than anything, just some industry information, some things going on in the tech world surrounding publishing and neural voice. And thank you so much for the opportunity to introduce all of you folks to the exciting things that we have going on, and hope to be working with it at some point.
Okay, all right, that's awesome. Is there anything in terms of actions you would like us to take if you're thinking about doing an audiobook?
Well, I mean, if you're thinking about doing an audiobook, I mean, certainly, check out our site, check out our blog. We've got great tips on how to go about recording, how to set up your space, things like that. if you have any questions, need anything at all, even if it's just to bounce ideas, feel free to reach out to me. I am a huge networker, and I love helping people achieve whatever it is they're looking to achieve. So even if it's not directly related to AUDiFYZ or Larynx, I'm always a resource.
All right. What I want you to do is add your website and your email address, if you don't mind, in the chat.
Certainly.
Okay. And just in case people don't know this, you probably do, the 3 little dots at the bottom of the chat. You can download the chat if you want to from there. So you can save your chat. So if you'd like to keep that. Okay. All right. Very good. All right. I just want to open it up to everybody. Any last thoughts to share, comments to make? Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate you being here, Bryce. I think this is fascinating, and it's going to be very interesting to see where this all goes, particularly around the neural voice.
Yeah, I'm really excited, not only by the technology, but everything that's going on right now. We've got some great partnerships in place. We're getting some great momentum right out of the gate with this. And yeah, if we were to have this conversation 3 months from now, I guarantee you it'll just be in a whole different atmosphere.
We're catching you early, which is good. I love that. Catching you before
Yep.
you blow up. Okay. Yep. Okay, so I just want to let everybody know, so next week I plan to have a speaker. I've got 2 that I'm trying to work with here to get you some insight on data and marketing. I've got some data marketing gurus coming on, 1 of 2, and so we should have that. And then our networking, of course, is the 4th Friday of every month. Let's see here. I want to make sure everybody is aware that we've got a program where we're trying to help marginalized, underprivileged individuals go from that place to a 6-figure technology career within about 18 months. And we're partnering with large companies across the US to try to make this happen. They've had 5,000 people through the program. It's exceptional. And so if you know of any big companies that are struggling to find tech talent and they would love to diversify their tech talent, please give me a call because I've got a way to help. Let's see here. We do put our Let's Share Their Journey programs up on our website, pursepower.com/coronavirus. That's when these all started. So you can see them there. If you like what we're doing and you want to support us financially, please go to our homepage and just buy us a cup of coffee. We'd appreciate it. Please like and share our social media pages. And please tell your friends about this webcast. We do it every Friday at 10 Central, and we've had some fascinating speakers on here. Everybody tells us they love the quality of the folks we have. Okay, any final comments by anybody? You're quiet group today. Yeah.
Thank you all very much. I really appreciate the time.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you, James. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, you guys. Okay, have a great week. See you next Friday. Please remember, Purse Power, we have it. Let's use it. See you next Friday. Take care. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.